Nick Fuentes went on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. Patrick Bet-David is mainstream famous now. He's like a Joe Rogan type of figure. And bringing Nick Fuentes on is bringing Nick Fuentes on is normalizing neo-Nazi ideology. Because, of course, Fuentes is a neo-Nazi. Self-avowed, Sieg-heiling, Hitler-loving neo-Nazi. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No, like, oh, you're being hyperbolic. He's a neo-Nazi. This is morally wrong of Patrick Bet-David to do, but let's listen to the conversation.
Your opinion of me. I'm Middle Eastern, married to a white girl. Or do you think it's better off for America?
Why does he look like an emo kid?
Your opinion of me.
Look at this. Why does he look so incredibly pasty white in this? It's painful. Like, my eyes are searing. And his hair is, like, black. I don't understand. Did you go back to high school and decide to be like an emo kid or something? Like, what happened here?
Middle Eastern, married to a white girl. Or do you think it's better off for America to minimize more of me coming to America?
America's no longer America. Mass migration is changing what America is. And I want to conserve what America historically has always been.
Well, that's a little bit, that's a little bit harsh.
Well, I'm not in favor of interracial marriages. That's against my values. I want to have a white wife. I want to have white kids.
Why? There's no good reason for it. What would your problem be with Patrick Bet-David of all people? He came to America, and yes, he's a scumbag, and he spreads all kinds of nonsense, right-wing extremist trash, but he does contribute to the economy, even though he does it through effectively pyramid schemes, but you get my drift. He's giving money velocity at the very least. What could your problem possibly be with him? I don't understand. Why are you complaining about this guy? There's no good reason to hate immigrants, period. Certainly no good reason to hate an immigrant that contributes to the economy. And you shouldn't hate the immigrant that doesn't contribute to the economy. You should just hate the fact that they're not contributing to the economy. It should have nothing to do with being an immigrant.
That's important to me.
That's kind of racist.
I agree.
Okay.
But let's remember the context.
How bad is the video? Is it appropriate to just show?
You can pull it up, yeah.
Rob, can you pull it up? I'm actually curious on how bad the video is.
It's a funny search query. I'm not sorry because this is a political attack. This is how political control is maintained.
So when you go a week ago and you're like, you don't need to do it, dropping the N-word. How is your approach going to change moving forward?
I don't think there's much that needs to change.
You're giving the dude attention by having him on. In my opinion, I used to believe that sunlight was the best disinfectant. And I do believe that to some degree about some things now. But we have reached a point in society where MAGA got so much sunlight that people started falling for it. MAGA, for example, neo-Nazi ideology, for example. And it's time to remove it from the light and let them eat each other alive in anger and vitriol and hate over there in the corner and leave us alone. It's time for that.
I've seen the tweets, I've seen the videos.
I don't platform trolls.
But how are you processing this?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought there were things about the memorial that were distasteful. I did not like him when he was alive. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, listen, you going to the dark side of where you're going right now. Is that kind of where you're going or not at all?
I didn't even want to do the show at that time. I was looking for an off-ramp. At that point, they were trying to knock me out. It made me want to stay in the game.
God, he's so fucking weird, dude. Really. Nick Fuentes is so goddamn fucking weird. Again, neo-Nazi. Self-proclaimed Sieg-heiling, Hitler-loving Nazi.
I got it. Okay.
All right, let's jump forward.
You know what's a great thing? I don't have sponsorship to lose. I don't have to worry about an investor saying they're not in. No. And me, for my entire career, I'll talk to anybody. And the reason why I wanted to speak to him is because this interview happened the day after me leaving Charlie Kirk's memorial, which was the most magical revival I've been in my entire life. Charlie was 31.
How did you miss all of that Nazi shit that was being said at the memorial? Really? It was a revival for you? Bro, you are Iranian, to my understanding. How could you possibly justify going to this memorial and then when being there, enjoying it? Did you not get a World War II education in school in Iran? I don't understand. Was your education different from people in the US? What? You cannot justify this kind of Nazi belief or this Nazi behavior at the memorial. It was insane.
He's in his mid to late 20s. And I feel what we need today more than anything else is to continue talking to each other. And if we don't learn about each other, what are we going to do?
Okay, I can appreciate that, except the divide is not, you're not trying to mend fences between the left and the right, which is where the real problem is. You're mending fences between fucking neo-Nazis and MAGA. Good job. That's great. Yes. You're doing a great job there. A great thing. Trying to rehabilitate neo-Nazis' image. Trying to mend fences with neo-Nazis. Great. That's fantastic. Patrick. Awesome. How many left-wing people have you had on to mend fences? You don't view left-wingers as humans, but you view Nazis, literal Sieg-heiling Nazis, as humans? We're all technically humans, and we should all give each other the grace of assuming we are savable. But that's not what he believes. This is fucking vile, dude. What broke in your head, Pat? Was it, like, never there? Whatever's in other people's heads that says, don't fucking support neo-Nazi ideology. Was that never in there? That thing, that little voice that said that? Or what? This is insane. All right, let's keep listening.
Hate, misinformed, agitate, divide, continue to call each other out and create this temperature to go higher and higher and higher? No, guess what? You know what podcast?
You shouldn't be raising the temperature on Nazis. You should be ignoring them at a bare minimum. You don't need to raise the temperature on Nazis because raising the temperature draws attention to it. Ignore it. And, well, let me rephrase. Ignore the Nazis and call out Nazi ideology when you see it. That's what you should be doing. Talk about it. Do a whole video on it if you want. Don't invite a fucking Nazi on your program. What is wrong with you? You're a media mogul. I'm just some fucking asshole. How is it that I know how to do your job better than you? Jesus fucking Christ, man.
So I did with this guy. I don't know if there's a podcast that you'll learn how he became who he became. What caused him to go from being a pro-Thomas Sowell guy, pro-PragerU, to a girl at Daily Wire who he was hanging out with. I think they even liked each other at one point, that became a Jew, converted, and then did certain things, and some retweets, some incidents with Ben, that the temperature elevated. One after another, and then in one video while he's at a university at this Leadership Institute, where the camera is kind of angled and this girl records him saying something about blacks, that goes viral.
Is he talking about Nick Fuentes? I don't understand. What are you even talking about right now? I don't remember any of this happening to Nick Fuentes. Fuentes has always fucking hated Jews.
Gets blocked from all the conservative interviews, and at a young age, he goes from here to the entire whole different level. And I asked him a couple questions. Who are you more concerned about? Jews in America or Muslims? His answer is very interesting. I asked him, who's a bigger net positive, Jews or Muslims? You're going to be surprised by the answer. It's a technical answer, but we had a very good conversation in that exchange. And then a lot of the stuff of where he's at right now, Charlie Kirk, how did Charlie Kirk inspire you? What did he inspire you? And he revealed something I've not heard him talk about before. But all in all, I actually think, here's what's going to be interesting. I actually think his audience is going to like it. I think conservatives are going to like it because you're finally getting to know who this guy is. I actually think, it's going to sound weird, I think Jews in Israel's going to like it.
These people are fucking brain broken, bro. There is nothing left of logic in these people's heads. Seriously, how the fuck do we mend fences with these people? Like, I don't want the country to be divided anymore. And assuming that Trump just stopped being a scumbag tomorrow, stopped blaming the left for everything tomorrow, how the fuck do we go about mending fences? Really, I don't know. I don't know. With people like this, I don't want to be in this position anymore where we have problems with each other. Like where we have a hard time getting along or understanding each other, working together, whatever. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. how the fuck do we change this situation? I don't know.
That's kind of crazy. Yes, I actually believe that. But having said that, I hope you enjoy getting to know this individual that is both loved by groypers and hated by many. And if you're like me, you're in the middle 20% that just doesn't have a clue who the guy is, I hope you get to know him better.
You should be researching him before you bring him on if you don't know who he is. You shouldn't just bring on any random person. He's a literal Nazi, like self-avowed Nazi. And you cannot convince me that Patrick Bet-David didn't know that by the time he made it to this chair. He knew that, right? Like, I understand Patrick Bet-David has some ass-backward right-wing views. I get that. But is this not a line anymore?
By the time this podcast is done with Nick Fuentes.
30 seconds.
Did you ever think you were made it? I feel I'm so close I can taste sweet victory. Know this life meant for me.
A lot of people are like, I don't. Okay, so we're finally doing this.
Yes, finally.
Yes. A lot of people are like, I don't think he's ever going to do it. Have him on. You shouldn't have him on, lawyers. Never have him on. This is not good. You're going to be tied in a group. You're in a good place. So that makes me want to talk to the guy.
I don't like it. Has nothing to do with being tied into a group. It's about the fact that he believes that Hitler did the right thing by murdering 6 million fucking Jews. Seriously, I'm not exaggerating. That is 100% fucking real. I don't want to mend fences with people like that. Why is this why is this guy not mending fences with the left, but mending them with the right? What the fuck?
But let me tell you, yesterday I'm at Charlie Kirk's memorial, obviously the late, great Charlie Kirk. I'm there, a couple comes up to me, okay? And I'm standing next to Adam, and Vinny's there, and my two boys, Dylan and Tico, are there. This couple comes, can I take a picture with you? Yes, of course, we take a picture. And then the guy gets a little too close to me, a little bit uncomfortable, but he didn't seem like a weird guy. Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't know if you paid attention. He has stopped saying the N-word. Please have him on.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes stopped saying the N-word because he wanted mainstream legitimacy. He said that's the reason that he gave for no longer saying the N-word. He wanted mainstream legitimacy. So great, it worked. You poor dumb fool. You fell for it.
I said, who are you talking about? He says, Nick has stopped saying the N-word. I said, no, he said it a lot a week ago. I said, no, he slowed down. He actually reacted. I said, well, we're going to have a conversation. I said, you're probably the first to know that we're having a conversation, and then obviously you're here. Appreciate you for coming out and making the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Nick, I don't know much about you except for the clips I've seen, respectfully. To me, the way I've made my money over the last, 25 years in insurance and finance.
Pyramid schemes, actually, is the more accurate description of it.
Was watching who has talent. And I would watch somebody, I would say, this guy's got what it takes, right?
To scam people, yeah, totally.
First time I had Charlie Kirk on at 23 years old, I said, there's something very special about this guy. At 23, I came to my insurance company. I said, this guy's going to be the president one day. Watch this guy closely. First time I watched Tucker, unbelievable talent. When you watch him, humor, sarcasm, intelligence, pushing back.
Okay, you didn't just find random people that were on the street and point them out. You picked out people that were already famous for being very charismatic or speaking or whatever other thing. It's not like you have a talent for finding other talent. The talent was already found. You just recognized that this person was already famous. Really? Do I really have to break this down? Come on.
Subtle. He's making fun of you. You don't know it. The audience knows it. He knows the art. Candace, talent. Dave Smith, talent. We used to have a comedian working here called Marcelo Hernandez, who is now on SNL. I don't know if you know who he is or not. Oh, incredible. Yeah. He used to produce Adam's show. And I said, this guy's going to do something special. Now he's on SNL. Vinny, talent. I see you, the way you communicated. Very, very talented. Very capable, very talented. And I've expressed this before on the show before. But I want to know a little bit more about how you became who you are today. And then we'll cover a lot of different topics. So go to high school.
4chan. He got there by being on 4chan.
14 years old. Who was Nick Fuentes?
Well, at 14 years old, I was already very political. I've been political since really I was 12 years old.
Since getting on 4chan, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I just started to develop an interest in politics. There were a lot of political conversations happening due to the rise of Obama, actually, in 2008, 2012. And I wanted to know basically everything about it. You know, when you turn around that age, you start to ask questions about the world and how we all got here and, you know, about things that happened before. And so the first thing I ever watched actually was Thomas Sowell on Uncommon Knowledge with, I think,
The best. One of the
Peter
best.
Robinson. Yeah, they're both excellent from the Hoover Institute. And that was actually the first thing after.
I mean, I just want to point this out. He's a Nazi, right? We're all on the same page with that. He's a neo-Nazi that loves Hitler, denies the Holocaust, and he's describing how he was radicalized into Nazi ideology. You shouldn't be saying the best, love it, fantastic. You should maybe be thinking to yourself, wow, these people that I really, really like seem to be not like radicalizing people into neo-Nazi ideology. That didn't cross your mind for a second? What the fuck?
Watch, and I just devoured it. I devoured everything.
At 12.
Yeah, 12, 13, 14.
Who introduced you to Thomas Sowell?
I just Googled it. A buddy of mine in school was telling me about the private sector. I said, what is the private sector? You know, what is the economy? And so I just Googled it on YouTube, and that was the first thing that came up. And I watched the whole thing, and it was just, I was enamored by it. And I told my mom, I said, I want Free to Choose by Milton Friedman. That was the first political book I ever read. And one day I came home from school, and it was there on my bed, and I read it.
First book is Free to Choose.
Yes.
Capitalism, free market capitalism, and he was it's really him and Thomas Sowell. I think he came before Thomas.
Milton Friedman's a moron. I don't know if you guys know this dude, but he's a right-wing extremist nutcase who is he's a world-renowned economist, if I'm not mistaken, and he was really pushing for some absolutely ass-backward, absurd economic policies that will and have ended in disaster. Milton Friedman was very much responsible for a lot of the shit that we've gone through over the past 50 years. And his absurd policy. He won a Nobel Prize. I did not know that. He is an absurd human being. There's a famous video of him out there. Let me see if I can find it.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
It's a funny thing. After the fall of communism, everybody in the world agreed that socialism was a failure.
See, this is what I'm talking about right here, this type of thing. Socialism and communism, completely different things. They are not connected to each other in any way, shape, or form. The complaint is from legitimate complainers, somewhat legitimate, that socialism is a stepping stone to communism, but they are not the same at all.
Everybody in the world, more or less, agreed.
And from an economist, he knows that. This is him lying, intentionally fabricating things to stoke fear, division, and hate.
Everybody in the world, more or less, agreed that capitalism was a success. And every capitalist country in the world apparently deduced from that what the West needed was more socialism.
That's Milton Friedman. That's the kind of thing he says all the time. I think he's dead now, but
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create
that's not true.
money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong.
That's not true. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. He's lying. He's intentionally fabricates information because he wants to push this belief, this false belief. He was a scumbag, a complete piece of shit. He was a political activist pretending to be a legitimate economist. He had the education, but he was a scumbag and a liar.
On my bed, and I read
First
it.
book is Free to Choose.
Yes.
Capitalism, free market capitalism, and he was it's really him and Thomas Sowell. I think he came before Thomas did, right?
He did, yes.
Right.
Yeah, well, he was from the Chicago school. So it was Friedman, Sowell, and all the others. And so I read all that stuff in middle school and high school. And at that time, I was really a libertarian because that's just what was out there at that time. That was during the Ron Paul Revolution.
Yeah, he was libertarian. I mean, Milton Friedman was libertarian, so that doesn't surprise me.
And the Fed.
Right, and the Fed. And there was so much online digital content, this is early 2010s, that was being put out by young libertarians. So that's just what was out there and what was available. And so I worked through all of it. Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, and read about all the Chicago school, even then the Austrian school, the really more libertarian economic stuff. And in high school, I was in Model UN, student council, speech team. I was very active in high school and, one of those precocious, autodidact type young guys. And
were you like this? Were you this vocal?
Oh, yeah.
Were you this intense?
Yes.
So did you get in trouble a lot? Did you get in a lot of fights? Did you get picked on? Did you have bullies?
I was very outspoken. I was very extroverted about politics. I was always getting in political debates in class and in Model UN, but I didn't really get in trouble as much. What's really funny, this might interest you actually, and I've talked about this before, but when I was in
Jesus, there was something like on my arm just crawling across it just now. It freaked me out so fucking much because I hate bugs. And I look down and it jumps off my arm and I look closer and it's just a little fuzzball from Miki. It was a little piece of her fur. Woo! Okay. Almost had a heart attack for a second there.
Model UN, I was one of the best guys on the team. I would win first place every week. And because if you don't know Model United Nations, you simulate the United Nations General Assembly or the different committees. And it's like role play. It's like a role play game, but for the United Nations. And anyway, so I was one of the better guys on the team. And my junior year of high school, I became the head of the team. I became the secretary general of the team. But I had a major falling out with the guy that ran the team. He was ethnically Arab, I think.
Okay. Patrick Bet David is ethnically Persian, which is pretty close to Arab. So that's interesting. I wonder how much shit Nick is going to talk about Middle Eastern people.
Extremely pro-Palestine. And I, at that time, was very pro-Israel. I was on Prager University and Breitbart. And so I downloaded all the dogma from the conservative movement at that time. And so I remember we were sitting in the study hall one day and they had all the flags of the world hanging up on the ceiling. And I said, why do we have the Iranian flag hanging up? I said,
this dude is Iranian. Patrick Bet David is Iranian.
They're the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. It shouldn't be up.
Oh boy. God, you have quite the pair of twig and berries over here, Nick, to say this shit to his face. Do you think Nick realizes?
And he told me, you got to read The Israel Lobby by John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt. He said, you got to look at the other side. And we had this like vicious back and forth about it. And that is kind of the only major problem I had with faculty over politics, ironically. Now,
so he was faculty?
Yes.
Okay, so how many years older was he from you?
Oh, he must have been his 40s.
And this school, walk me through the demo of the school. Is it a public school? Is it a private school?
It was a pretty affluent public school,
okay.
Mostly white.
Got it.
Outside in the suburbs of Chicago.
Naperville,
it was Lyons Township in Western Springs, LaGrange.
Okay. So it's not like it's Chicago. It's a good area of Chicago, mostly white. Mm. And would you say politically center, left, don't care, Republican? What would you say the demo was?
I would say it's pretty center-left. It's very Catholic, some Catholic, some Protestant. But what's interesting about it is very liberal, but not leftist, not very progressive. So even though we were in the middle of a very progressive revolution under Obama, I mean, these guys were all liberal, but they weren't communists. It wasn't like New York or Portland.
So what year is this? When you were junior in high school? This would make it what?
2015.
2015. Okay, so this is... Has Trump yet announced anything?
So he announced August 2015. So it was actually right around that time.
Got it. Okay, so you're there, you're getting into these debates in junior year, and then Trump announces, and then what do you do?
So after Trump announced, this is right around the time, he announced in June 2015. And so I was very political, obviously super engaged with the election. And at that time, so this was going into my senior year of high school, I had a radio show on the high school radio station and a TV show on the high school TV station. I did both. And one of my first shows I've ever done in my whole life was talking about the election. And that was a very crowded primary. It was like 17 candidates. I don't know if you remember back then. Mm-hmm. It was Trump and this huge
everybody,
field. Yeah, it was everybody. And so I went through all the candidates. And initially, I was very anti-Trump because I was a libertarian. So I was in it for Rand Paul and then Ted Cruz. And it wasn't until April or March 2016, about 7 months in, to my senior year that I really went in hard for Trump. And Trump, I would say, is the one who red pilled me, quote unquote. He's
Out of all these guys, these are the guys we're looking at, right?
Right.
Wait, Trump red pilled him? Is that what he said? That doesn't surprise me. But I just want to point out this is a neo-Nazi. Patrick Bet-David realizes that, right? Does he realize that? How is he not connecting the dots that his movement is part of the new Nazi party?
That was a Jeb Bush started with $140 million. He was supposed to win it. Carson had a little bit of momentum. Cruz was one of the guys that people thought could do something.
Right.
Nobody thought Trump up until I think Ann Coulter's like, who do you think today's going to win? And she made the comment that I think is going to be Trump on Bill Maher. Everybody starts laughing.
Right.
Okay, so you're in this moment. Trump red pills you first.
Yes. He red pills me on immigration, really, because at that time, I am preoccupied with this notion of individualism. Very much like you. I mean, a lot of the stuff you say in your show, I agree with you 100%. I guess he reoriented my perspective about individualism, because what I started to understand is that, you remember, in 2015, it felt like the left was unstoppable. It felt like Obama and then Hillary Clinton were going to lead this progressive revolution, and it was just going to get more left every day forever, more pro-woman, more pro-gay, more diverse. And
I'm sorry, I just have to ask, what's the problem with things being more pro-woman, more pro-gay, and more diverse? Exactly. What's the problem? I don't understand. Why would anybody care? Why do you care? There is literally no downside. In fact, there are nothing but upsides to more diversity in the United States. Diverse set of opinions, people living their lives, doing their thing, massive amounts of freedom. How much freedom do people have now? Not as much as they did.
At that time, what felt so suffocating was this kind of political chokehold the country was in. The media's left-wing, Hollywood's left-wing, the press is left-wing.
This is just delusion. They weren't all left-wing. They were normal. Do you know that he thinks that the Trump administration is too left-wing for him? Seriously. How right-wing do you want it, Nick? The answer is gas chambers, right.
And what woke me up about Trump is one day I was watching the primaries, early primary elections, and Trump was winning all of them. He didn't win the Iowa caucus, but he won in New Hampshire, won in Nevada, and I remember the media was beside themselves, calling it every day for him. And I said, the one thing that Trump has right is he understands in order to take power, well, in order to do what you want to do, you got to take power first. In order to take power, you have to engage the media, because the media is really the enemy. It's a very early kind of understanding of how politics actually works.
And fake news, he hasn't even said fake news yet. So this is pre him saying fake news.
Exactly. But he would fight the moderators in the debates, even Fox News, because Roger Ailes had it out for him early on.
That's true, he did.
And I said, he's going to fight the mainstream media. That's essential, because if you can't fight the media, you can't win. If you don't win, you can't do what you want. And then I thought about immigration and how it's affecting the voting patterns, because I looked at one meme in 2016, and it said, this is what the 2012 election would look like if only white men voted, if only men voted, I'm sure everybody's seen it.
Yes, and I'm going to guess that that was the thing that made him conclude that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I'm going to guess that he's trying to ban women from voting now as a method of cheating to win every election. Is that right?
And what became clear is that if only non-white people are voting, the country, they vote 90% left. Blacks voted 97% for Obama in 2008.
Yeah, so this is just a means to cheat. He just wants to impose his electoral interests and wishes on people, and he doesn't like democracy because it means that, because he knows he's not very popular. That's what I'm reading here.
In 2012. If immigration is making the country less white, and if non-white people only vote Democrat, Asians is like 75%, Hispanics at that time, 70%, blacks, 90%, I said, it's clear where the country's going to go, what direction this is headed in. I said, so, and the reason this is happening is because these people aren't assimilating. So before...
They aren't assimilate? The reason they're voting left wing is because they aren't assimilating. Black people aren't assimilating? And women aren't assimilating? I mean, even if you say immigrants aren't assimilating, immigrants are not allowed to vote until, like, they're full citizens, basically. And it's a 5 to 7 year process to get there. And by the time they get citizenship, I would argue that they're assimilated. They have to understand U.S. culture and the Constitution and the laws and everything else well enough that they can pass a citizenship test, which is pretty stringent. So that's just a lie. He's just lying. This is just made up garbage.
Or we can even think about individualism, the Constitution, etc. We got to take out the media. And by take out, what I mean by that is you got to fight back. And two, you have to secure the border, because if the Democrats bring in all these illegals and legal immigrants, they're going to flip Texas, and that's the way it's going to go. And that was kind of the first realization. That's what made me say I'm all in it for Trump, even though ideologically I wasn't really with him just yet.
Because you're a libertarian at the time.
Right.
Right. Okay, I'm following. So now you're all in for Trump. He's the closest thing to a libertarian. I don't know. I don't think it was Joe Jorgensen, right? Who was a candidate at the time for
Gary
the Libertarian?
Johnson.
Right. Guess you're not going to go Gary Johnson, right? I think he got.
Right. Gary Johnson was the third party candidate that spoiled it for Hillary Clinton, arguably. He got like 4% of the vote or whatever it was, and the margin was smaller than that.
Is he the one that didn't know the capital of a country? And I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
He'd never heard of Aleppo. He didn't know what Aleppo was. I didn't either, to be fair. I think that was just a smear. Aleppo is I think it's the capital of Syria, and there were some atrocities happening at that time in Syria, which he was aware of and he was speaking on, but he was not aware that Aleppo was the capital of Syria. So, and I would be willing to bet you guys didn't know that either, because I don't think that's very common knowledge, but okay.
Aleppo.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it's like, oh my God, this guy can't be. And then they moved on. That was an easy one for him. So you're in that moment. I'm going to go all Trump. What happens next?
So I go all Trump, and I'm a big Trump guy. I get my MAGA hat, and I'm all excited about it, and I volunteer for the campaign and everything. And so he wins the primary in the spring of 2016. Convention happens, I think, July 2016. I enter college at Boston University in September 2016.
Oh, boy.
And this is the first time I've lived outside Chicago. I've lived in the same place my whole life. And it's important to impress upon you and maybe everybody like where I grew up. It's like this pocket of America that never changed. It's a baseball town. Everybody's white. Everybody's obsessed with baseball. Everybody's Catholic. So growing up, I'm going to CCD, which is like catechism class for Catholics. Everybody loves baseball. There's an annual parade where you go and eat hot dogs and play baseball. So this is a place that is untouched by, like I said, even though they're liberal, they're not even really progressive. It's untouched by the progressive politics, by a lot of the diversity, even the crime. It's safe, white picket fences. Take a trip down to Western Springs, Illinois. I mean, you'll see what I mean. It's like the land that time forgot. I go to college in Boston, totally different story. Boston's obviously super diverse. It's a lot of young people because it's all schools, it's all universities, and they're all from Asia, all foreign students, and they're all Chinese, or all...
I don't know why that matters. Why do you care? He's saying that there was a tight-knit community. You can have a tight-knit community with people of different backgrounds. You don't have to be all the same skin color. The concept of race is fake. The concept of, or let me rephrase. The concept of race is fake, and hating people for their race is fictitious. It would be like hating somebody for their eye color or their hair color. Nobody actually does that because it's fucking stupid. And they shouldn't do that. It's dumb as dog shit. It's a waste of everybody's time. Why would anybody hate anybody else based on their hair color? Do you hate gray-haired people? Of course you don't. So the point is that Nick Fuentes had a very close-knit community, and as a result, apparently now believes that you can't have a close-knit community with people that are not white. Racism is taught. It is a learned behavior. It is not something that is innate. You're not born racist. If you raised two tribes in the jungle and they didn't know anything about race and they met each other, they would not automatically hate each other because they were different. I know we have this idea that tribalism is like built into us or whatever. That's true, but not like that exactly. You want your team to win, but you aren't drawing lines about who can be on your team naturally. That's taught. When black or dark-skinned tribes who are largely isolated from the rest of the world, when they meet a white person for the first time, they usually try to rub their skin off. They think they have something on their skin that they have to rub off, like that it's like powder or something. And they try to rub the white powder off of their skin. They don't hate them automatically. They fear them because they're different, but when they talk to them, when they learn from them, things change. And the fact that Nick Fuentes views things this way tells us a lot about what type of person he is. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
From these Asian countries. And there's also, it's a little dangerous. There's a little criminal element, and everyone on the campuses, they're militant left wing. And that was
This is just complete bullshit. This is just fabricated trash.
kind of a culture shock. And I kind of realized in that moment, most of the country looks like this now, actually. New York, LA, Miami, the big cities, and most people live in the cities, they all look like this because of immigration, because of left-wing progressive politics.
I mean, this is what it's always been like. We're in the United States, the home of the immigrants. We were built by immigrants. We don't have this like massive immigration wave that didn't exist really before. We've always been made up of immigrants, always. We have fewer immigrants today than we did back then, arguably, because everybody was an immigrant back, 300 years ago or 200 or whatever. Just disgusting.
And I kind of said in that moment, my slice of America that I grew up with is a dying breed. It's literally going extinct. And I like my upbringing. I love my upbringing. I want to, if I have a family, I want to raise my kids in a place like that. But in 50 years, will there be places like that? The country's going to become majority minority in the 2030s.
Oh my God, dude, really? What, one more time?
If I have a family, I want to raise my kids in a place like that. But in 50 years, will there be places like that? The country's going to become majority minority in the 2030s.
The country, you mean white people? And I don't think that's true. The 2030s, it's not going to happen. Absolutely no chance by the 2030s. I've been hearing people claim that white people are going to be, 48% of the population instead of 57% for literal generations. I don't know what the percentages are now or what they're going to add up to be down the line or whatever. But first, I have to say, who cares? Why do you care? The only reason Nick Fuentes could possibly care about this or anybody else is because he believes that he's at odds with with non-white people. He believes that they are like dangerous or evil or bad or have it out for him or something. There's no excuse to fear minorities like that. It's delusion. And second, as I was saying, this isn't happening. This isn't going to happen, certainly not by the 2030s. You're fear-mongering and freaking people out over absolutely nothing. So what if the country turned fully Mexican? Okay, who cares? Why do you care? I mean, if it was through invasion, I would have a problem with that, obviously. But it's not through invasion. It's literally just through people moving here. And you know that having more people in a country improves an economy dramatically? Having more people spending, buying, paying rent, and whatever is good for an economy? So what's your complaint? Exactly. His complaint is he just doesn't fucking like non-white people, especially not Jews. Vile. And he's sitting here saying this to an Iranian. Oh, sorry.
So when I'm old and gray and I have grandkids, what is the country they're going to look like?
And you're questioning this. You're questioning, you're having this dialogue, you're asking yourself, I'm concerned that I'm going to lose the identity of what it means to be an American. Is it more that? Is it more Caucasian? Is it more white? What do you mean it's going to lose its identity?
It's all of that. It's all of that it's not going to be white people. It's not going to be Christian. It's not going to be speaking English. It won't be safe. No baseball, no hot.
Like if you have a problem or if you want to like preserve these things, then preserve them. Have children and do it. You're trying to impose your will on other people and advocating for mass atrocities in the process. He says Trump said he was going to do mass deportations, and he's not. In World War II, they were doing about 6,000 executions per day. Like they were killing 6,000 Jews per day at one time. And that wasn't even their peak. They could have gone a lot further. They could have done a lot more than just 6,000. The bottleneck was largely access to the chemicals, Zyklon B. So anyway, Nick Fuentes is unhappy with the fact that Trump is only doing, on average, 700 deportations per day, give or take, right now. And he wants it closer to the Holocaust of 6,000.
All these different layers of identity are kind of being
Who are you
blown up.
sharing this concern with at the time? Are you talking to friends, mentor, peers, relatives, parents? Who are you talking to about this?
It's all my friends in college.
Okay, so this is on BU, you're talking to them.
Yes.
And are they agreeing, disagreeing? What are they saying to you?
Well, we all basically agreed. So we all met at there was a watch party for the first debate between Trump and Clinton. All four of us, we were the only Trump supporters on the whole campus. And we all met at this watch party.
Is this the one that said you'd be in jail? No, that's the second one, right?
Yes, that's the second one.
right.
So it was at the first one. We all met, and we developed this kind of tight-knit
What
friendship.
month is this? Is this September of 15?
September 16th.
September 16th. Okay, got it.
Right. And so, we all get together, and what was interesting at that time, and this was kind of like a cultural moment, is that remember that Trump, when he came around, there was just this explosion on the right wing. They called it the alternative right. That had a very different connotation in 2016 than it did in 17. Because in 16 and even 2015, what it meant, up to that point, the GOP and conservatism meant kind of like one thing. It meant like Rick Santorum, like cultural conservatism, traditional...
Karl Rove.
Right, all that kind of stuff. And Trump comes along and says, well, I'm kind of agnostic on healthcare. We just want to take care of everybody. He was more of a Pat Buchanan, Sam Francis, like nationalist. And so there was this explosion on 4chan and on Twitter of a lot of young right-wing guys that were asking, well, what does it mean to be right-wing? And so there's guys like Stefan Molyneux and Jared Taylor and Steven Pinker and Jordan Peterson and Ben...
Stefan Molyneux was very much like abandoned by the right after he created an effectively like a psychology cult. It was insane. And he also went way too far politically, but the Republican Party is now where he was. He's nowhere near as extreme today as he was then, simply because the Republican Party has moved so quickly and so hard.
And Shapiro, all these guys come into the fold, and it's much more aggressive. It's younger. It's more dynamic. It's a lot of new ideas or maybe old ideas presented in a new way. And so we were kind of holding like this salon, like this intellectual salon at the Tasty Burger by Fenway, talking about all these new people that are coming around. Richard Spencer, for that matter, Peterson.
Richard Spencer is also a neo-Nazi, like Sieg Heiling, Hitler-loving neo-Nazi, famously the leader of the alt-right. Back in 2015 or so. I guess Nick Fuentes probably respected the hell out of Richard Spencer, right? He was the guy that was punched when there was that should you punch a Nazi debate going around.
Race and ideas like race realism, like Western chauvinism, people like Gav McInnes. And we were all kind of developing our ideas and what we thought was right. And ironically, none of these guys were even white. One of them was Turkish. One of them was actually Assyrian.
You're Mexican, Nick Fuentes. He's 1/4 Mexican.
I know you're Assyrian.
Who was that?
So he's an Assyrian guy from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, some young man.
Wow. Was he a Christian man or no?
He was Christian.
A Syrian man from Australia. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
And one of them was Jewish even. And so he was Russian Jewish. And a lot of people say about me, I mean, I'm an American ethnic. I'm not English or German. I'm
Fuentes. What's Fuentes?
Mexican.
And who's your dad's Mexican?
My father's half Mexican, yes.
What's his other half?
Irish.
And then mom?
She's all Italian.
All Italian. Mm-hmm. Parents, when we're talking.
So we're talking, he's kind of a mix of, I guess you could say he's probably a mix of Central American and Celtic, right? Originally, / Nordic.
To the crew,
are Italians considered Nordic? They're not, right? I'm not sure. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is disgusting.